Have you wanted to learn how to make a simple, cute crochet stuffy just like this one? Well, join me, your By Crafty Bessie, and I'll show you how. Let's go.
Show me love, show me love. This is all we
Hello there, everybody, and welcome to the Marley Bird YouTube channel, your one-stop destination for the best knitting and crochet instructions on the internet. In this video, I am going to show you how to make this super adorable frogging friend. This is the very first crochet stuffy I've ever designed, and I gotta tell you, I think it's adorable. I decided that I would use very simple shaping construction to make this very simple stuffy, so that way all of you out there, whether you are an adventurous beginner or an experienced crocheter, could make this fun project with me. This is a pattern available over at marleybird.com. I put a link in the video description box right down there below, so you can grab that pattern and follow along with me. My goal in this video is to show you all the skills you need to complete your very own frogging friend. I'm not going to make the entire frog together with you, but I am going to get you started on all the different sections. That's the cool point, you guys. Each of these little pieces, they're all so closely related to another that once you learn how to do one, you can do all the rest. It's that easy. So without further delay, go ahead, grab your yarn, grab your hook, grab that pattern, and let's make ourselves a fun little cute friend. Isn't it adorable? It's so cute. Okay, for this project, I used a size E crochet hook, and I used 4 different colors of a worsted weight yarn. The majority of my cute little friend is with the darker Kelly green color, but you'll notice that the little eyes in here and the bottom of his feet are with this lighter green color. Then of course we have the white for the eyeballs and the black for the pupils and the smile. So the majority of the yarn you need is in the main color for the frog. You will also need some fiberfill stuffing that you will be stuffing your stuffy along the way. The first part of this project we are going to start with is the magic loop and our single crochets into the magic loop. This technique is used for the pupils, for the back of the eyeballs, for the body, for both of the arms and the feet. So once you get the magic loop and those single crochets into the magic loop, you are already on your way to knowing how to make the rest of this project, all right? So let's start with the magic loop and the single crochets into the magic loop to begin. To make a magic loop, you're essentially making a slip knot without pulling it closed. Put the tail of your yarn in the palm of your hand. Wrap your working yarn around your forefinger and your middle finger. And when you come back up, cross that over. Rotate your hand over and then hold on to that yarn so that way both of your yarns are secure in your hand. You're going to go underneath this front loop and grab that back loop and pull it up, okay? Now the whole magic loop is literally where your 2 fingers are right there in that yarn. So if I pull my fingers out, you see that little twist right there in the yarn? That's what I want to hold as I get ready to work my piece, and I will get a magic loop, okay? So even just right here, this start here, right, this is the magic loop. We begin with a chain 1, and now we will put single crochets all into this magic loop, okay? The number of single crochets you will put in that magic loop is determined by your pattern. So you will look at your pattern, and let's say it says 6, which is what you start with for the head. You will go into that circle, okay? See that circle? I'm going into it, yarning over, pulling up my loop, yarning over, and then drawing through 2. That's 1 single crochet. If I want to, I could pause right here and I can take a stitch marker, okay? I'm gonna grab my stitch marker here. And if I'm looking behind my hook, the V of the stitch behind my hook. So I have a loop on my hook, that V right there, that's the top of the single crochet I just completed. I can put a stitch marker right there so that way I know where the very first stitch is, okay? So that's 1 single crochet. Let's do 6. So I go into that hole again, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Once you have all the single crochets completed that you need to make, you then will grab the tail here, and this is like magic. By pulling on this tail, it's going to pull this string here through the bottom of those stitches. Can you see that? It's pulling it through the bottom of those stitches, and it's pulling that circle closed, okay? It's pulling that circle closed. So now that last stitch that you have just made, it's coming up real close to the first stitch that you've made. It's at this point you will either join with a slip stitch to form a circle, or you will work in single crochet spirals all the way around. Now that we have learned how to do that magic loop or adjustable ring, whichever way you want to think about it, and how to work those single crochets into said loop, we can move on to working increases. When you're working in shapes like stuffies and such, you work increases at certain intervals to create the shapes you want. As we're working this circular shape for the head and then subsequently for the body and the arms and the eyes and the legs, we are going to work at different interval rates for each project. Let's go ahead and let me show you how to do it for the head, and then you can take what you've learned as far as how to increase. It's really quite easy, and just follow the instructions so that you can do the same thing for the body, and then we'll talk about the eyes in its own little section. Let's go ahead and join with a slip stitch to form a join, and this is what you will do as you are making the head, the eyes, and the body. I'm putting my needle directly into where my stitch marker was. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull that loop through the loop on my hook. I now have a circle, okay? I have 6 single crochets here. On the next round, I will be placing 2 single crochets into each one of those. So I am going to double my number of stitches. I start off by doing a chain 1. Then I go into the same stitch that I joined, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. Go into that same stitch again, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. That is an increase, okay? So I'm putting 2 stitches into 1. I go over to the next V right here, insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. Go into that same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. I will do this in every stitch all the way around, and I will end up with 12 stitches. It will look like you have an extra space right there for another stitch. Be careful. If you add a stitch there, you're going to increase more than you need. So you can take a minute and count your stitches. I like to count the V's at the top of the stitches. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You never count the loop on your hook as a stitch. It's at this point, I go over to the very first single crochet I did, insert my hook into the top of that single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull that loop through. Okay, that's a joined round. We continue working increase rounds until we get to the number of stitches we want for the piece we're making. So let's make a head together. And for this, I want to go ahead and I will chain 1, and following the instructions, I will single crochet into the very first single crochet, and then I will place 2 single crochet into the next single crochet. And then I repeat that. 1 single crochet in the next one, 2 single crochet in the next one. So I am increasing 6 stitches. So I'm increasing in every other stitch. 1 single crochet in the next, 2 single crochet in the next one. 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. When you get to the end of the round, join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet, and you should have a little circle starting, okay? The following round for the head, you chain 1, you do a single crochet in the first 2 stitches, right? And then you will increase in the 3rd stitch. A single crochet in the next 2 stitches, 2 in the next stitch. A single in the next 2 stitches, 2 in the next stitch. Keep going to get all the way around. If you have to stop like I did, just go back, look at your stitches and find where you have your 2 into 1 stitch, and then you know where you just did your increase, so you're ready to work your just regular even stitches. So I have 1 stitch, and here's my 2nd stitch, and then 2 into the next. 1 and 2, and then 2 into this one. 1 stitch, 2 stitch, and 2 into this one. I'm at the end of the round. I join once again, and I have a circle. Okay, now because I want to make sure that my increases are evenly distributed, on this next round of increases, I'm going to change up the order in which I increases. So notice I was going 1 stitch, 2 stitches, then this would be like 3 stitches and then an increase. We're going to go back to where it's 2 stitches. So I'm going to go 1 stitch and then 2 stitch and then work an increase. And now I'll do 3 stitches, so 1 stitch, 2 stitch, 3 stitch, and then work an increase. We do that again. We do that all the way around, and we'll end with 1 single crochet. And with 1 single crochet, and then I'm going to join to the first single crochet again with my slip stitch, and I have my circle, okay? At this point, you understand how to do those increases. So what I want you to do is go ahead and continue on with the pattern, increasing until you have the number of stitches you need for your head, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, as I mentioned, I am going to be working on the head in this video. So it's at this point that I will no longer work increases, but I will work evenly in rounds in the number of stitches I have, and I will work for the number of rounds written in the pattern. So when I say working rounds even, all that means is you will chain 1, and in each stitch all the way around, we will just put 1 single crochet. And this is going to make our circle here begin to cup on us and become more of a cup type shape, okay? And I am going to continue working in joined rounds. And I am not putting any extra fuss in making sure that my joined rounds have a completely straight join. I don't mind the slight curve of the join that we're going to get by the join rounds because we're just working on this small little piece, and I'm putting that in the back of the frog's head. So I'm not worried about it. But if that's something that is concerning to you, you can go ahead and alter the way you join your rounds so that way you can get a straight join or a straight seam if you want. But honestly, I'm not too worried about it for this little frog. I think the little bit of the curvature of the join adds a beauty of imperfection to a hand crocheted project. So you can see here, even as I'm just working, you could probably see it on your own, you're starting to get your work to cup up in on itself just a little bit. And it's going to get more and more cupped as you do more and more rounds. So go ahead and continue working in these even rounds for the number of times written in the pattern. Join me back here and we will move on to the next step. All right. Okay, once you have done your even rounds, your work looks a little something like this. You can see from the top looking down, you get this nice circle happening. And then what you're looking at here, whether it's on the back where the join is or on the front, this is obviously where the front of the face will go. And the eyes will be placed over here and over here. It's at this point that we are going to go ahead and weave in this tail right here that we started with because we don't want the top of our piece to come undone. So we're going to pop this inside out, give our tail a nice tug to make sure the entire top is closed, and then grab yourself a tapestry needle or a chenille needle. And we are just going to secure this to the inside of our piece. We're just going to go through some of the stitches and really secure it in there. I like to go ahead and finish with a knot on the inside of my amigurumi or my stuffies. I never add a knot or anything if I'm working on any sort of a wearable or anything else, but when it's something like this that I want to make sure the top is not going to come undone, I really like to make sure that this end is nice and woven in. And my fingers are on the inside of this to make sure that my needle is not going through to the other side. But like I said, I just want to make sure that this circle right here that we started with does not come undone. Okay, so I'm going to give it just a nice little seam in there, and then I finish it just with pulling this through one of the sections and having a little knot there. Okay, once I get that done, I go ahead and snip my yarn. Okay, and now I can turn this back right side out, and I can begin working decrease rounds. Now, we are going to work the decrease rounds very similar to how we did the increase rounds. However, instead of putting 2 stitches into one, we're going to work a decrease across 2 stitches. And I'm going to show you a decrease that I used. It's a single crochet 2 together. However, I actually don't complete the second, well, you know what, you'll see it. You'll see how I do my decrease. I think it just makes the decreases lay a little bit flatter. So I'm going to show you how I do the decreases for this piece. All right. So I am at the start. I'm still working in joined rounds for my head. And I will begin. Now, if you remember, we ended where we were doing 7 stitches, right? We had 7 stitches for the head. So we start off with our chain 1. And so we will go ahead and work 5 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so across number 6 and 7, right, for this interval, I want to work a decrease. Now I'm going to show you how I do my decreases. I go into this first stitch, so this would be stitch number 6, yarn over, pull up a loop. Go into stitch number 7, yarn over, pull up a loop. If we were doing a quote-unquote normal single crochet 2 together, we would yarn over and draw through all 3 loops. But I don't want the bulk of that. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to treat that second stitch as a slip stitch. So I'm going to pull that loop right there on my hook through the 2 loops behind it. So I have the loop I just pulled up, and I'm going to continue it and pull it through the 2 loops behind it to get a decrease. Okay. Then I go over to the next stitch and I start my interval again. So I do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now this is my decrease. Go into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Go into the second stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. And that second loop I pulled up, I want to pull that through both of the loops on my hook. Now, one thing I do want to know, as I'm doing these decreases, you'll actually see, instead of holding my work to where everything's like really parallel, I actually kind of hold my hook more kind of in to make those decreases so they want to start to shape and curve that way. So you'll notice that as I go on to my next set, when I create my decrease, I really finish with my hook pulled out here. It's a subtle little thing, but I find that it makes the curve of my decreases just look a little bit better. Now, if you end up talking like what I just did and you're like, oh, I don't know where I was, take your hook out and look back. 1, 2, 3, find where your decrease was. And my decrease was right there. You'll be able to see it. It looks a little bit different than the other stitches. So there's my decrease. So I can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches after my decrease. When in doubt, just undo your stitches until you get to where that decrease is, which is right here. And you'll see it because it comes out of 2 stitches, okay? So then I could just rework that decrease and then continue on. So I pull up a loop, go to the next stitch, pull up a loop, pull that loop I just pulled up through the 2 loops on my hook, and I've done a decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then work my decrease. You will do this all the way around for the number of times written in your pattern. Okay, to shape the bottom of the head, you're going to continue on with the instructions, working those decreases as written in the pattern. So whether you're doing 2 stitches and then a decrease or 3 stitches and then a decrease, just follow what's written in the pattern. As you get going, you will reach a point where you will want to start stuffing your circle a little bit with the fiber fill. I find it's usually when I get down to where it's like 4 stitch intervals, I'm going to start stuffing my head. So what I want to do now, I'm going to continue working my decreases as written in the pattern, and then I'm going to have you come back here and we're going to stuff our little head together to kind of see how that works out. All right, sound good? So work on your end, I'm going to work on my end, and we're going to meet up when we get to stuff this thing, which is so fun. Okay. When you get down to where your opening is about this large, that's when you want to start taking your fiber fill or your fluff and start filling in the head. Now for me, I wanted the head to be very firm and filled out. That's why I'm using such a small hook with the worsted weight yarn so that my stitches are nice and tight. So as I fill my head up here with all the fiber fill, it's not going to come through my stitches, like everything is still nice and hidden, but I want to make sure I'm packing it in and fluffing it into all of the edges as I feel on the outside. If there's like a dead spot, like a really empty sort of location, you want to fill that in with the fluff. So like I'm going around, I can feel it. You want it to be nice and firm, okay? I wanted mine to be nice and firm because you don't want his little head to flop around. And you want it to be a nice, stable head, all right? So I take little pieces of the fiber fill and pop it in there. Let me see. And this is just one of those things you have to kind of do by feel. And you can kind of mush it all around to make sure you're not getting any hard spots. Make sure everything is all pushed where you want it to go and that you have a nice, nice formed head here that you want to have here. I think I want just a little bit more over here. Yeah, I need a little bit more. And like I said, like this is one of those things you just kind of have to feel it out. Like you don't want it to be hard as a rock, but I definitely wanted it more solid. So I put it down here on the table kind of see to make sure I don't have more on one side than another. Yeah, it feels good. Now, as I continue working my decreases here, when I come to the very end, I have a little bit of fluff here that I could put to fill in like this spot right here that I'm getting ready to close. But as I continue decreasing my rounds, no matter what round you've chosen to start adding your fluff in, just make sure you're continually making those stitches nice and dense, okay? So as I work around here, I found that if I hold it like so and work my stitches and just kind of just push the fluff in as I go, it closed everything up really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and continue closing up my stitches here. You do the same on yours, and when you get to the very last round, meet me back here and we'll stitch this up together. When you get down to the very finish, go ahead and cut your yarn, leaving yourself a nice long tail. And what we're going to do here is, first off, make sure you have all the fluff in there that you could possibly want, okay? And then you're gonna take the tail and your tapestry needle, and we're gonna get this closed up. So I'm just going to go around all of my stitches here, and we're gonna pull it closed like a drawstring. I'm going around all of them, and I'm not worried about how like nice this looks or anything, because this is the bottom of the head, and so it's going to be attached to the body, and so I'm not really that stressed out about it looking really nice and neat. However, if you wanted to make this head to where it was a standalone, you do want to make sure it looks a little bit clean. So as you go all the way around, make sure all your fluff is in there. Give that a nice pull, and it'll pull everything closed, right? Pull everything closed just like the top did. Once you have your tail all secured in, do not cut it. Leave this tail, because we can use this to help seam up anything if we need to. So we're going to leave that. But this is the bottom, and so this is the top of my froggy head, and I'm going to have my seam be the back of the head. So I'm going to just have that to the back. So this is my froggy head. Now in this head, we've learned how to do the magic loop or the adjustable ring. We've learned how to work those single crochets into that ring, right? We do that on all the different parts of this frog. Then we learned how to do our increases, right? And we did joined rounds. We do that for the head. We do that for the body down here. We do that for the body. And we also do that for the eyes. So at this point, now that you have completed the head, I would go ahead and make the body of your frog. Go ahead and complete the body of the frog. You don't need any extra instruction for that. Just follow the written pattern as it's written, and you will get a nice body, nice large body. And then join me back here, and we will tackle these cute little eyeballs that you will place on your head just like so. These are very easy to do. They are made in 2 parts, and I can't wait to show you how to do these. So once you finish the body, join me here and we'll make some eyes, some cute little, some boogly eyes, boogly eyes. One of the cutest things about our little frogging friend here is the eyes. Now, I use these really great cartoon eyes that I learned from my friend Sarah from Repeat Crafter Me, and I just added a little extra bits to them to give them some more definition. So let's go ahead. When we make these eyes, we start right here with the pupil with black yarn. Now, the good news is you don't have to have me show you how to make this, because you learned how to do that when you made the head or if you made the body. But we're essentially going to start with the magic loop, and we will put 10 single crochet into that magic loop with the black yarn. So I know you're not going to be able to see me working with this yarn, but I want to show you how to make these eyes, so I'm going to use it, okay? Here we go. I'm going to do my magic loop. I'm starting off just like I did before. You could do the same thing, and I'm starting off with 10 single crochet. And 10. Okay, I'm going to pull my loop here, my string, and I'm going to go ahead and cut my yarn. Okay, now our little pupil here doesn't look like much, but we do want to join to work in the round, just like we did on the head and the body. So I place my hook into that very first single crochet we created, right? Remember, we've pulled this nice and close, so it should be as close as we can get, and we will weave in our end to close that up. But now you want to grab the yarn color you want to use for the iris of your eyes. Now I'm using a slightly lighter green for the iris of my eyes, and I will yarn over and pull through that single crochet and then pull through the loop on my hook. That gives me a nice new color join, right? The new loop on my hook is the color I want to use, and I don't get any color bleeds in my iris. Now I'm going to work an increased round around my pupil here with my green. So I'm going to put 2 single crochets into each stitch around. So I will have 20 single crochets. So I chain 1. We'll go into that very first stitch and do 1 and then do 2. All right. Remember, I told you once you learned how to do this, you do this for a lot of the pieces. So this is very easy, stuffy project because a lot of it is repetitive, so you don't have to learn new. And we just do 1 round of this green color, okay? 1 round. So when we get to the end of the round, we will actually be changing colors to, I want to get 20 stitches here. Make sure you get your 20 stitches. And the reason you really want to make sure you get 20 is because you want both eyeballs to be the same, right? So you want to make sure your count is correct. Now, at the end of this round, I can already see that the center of my iris, or not my iris, my pupil is starting to come undone. So before I even join or do anything else, I'm going to pause here, turn my work upside down, give that center a pull again to make it really nice and closed. And then it's at this point in time, I will go ahead and weave this part in. Now this time, because I have so many stitches and I really want this to go through all of those stitches, I'm using a really sharp chenille needle, and I'm just going to just thread through all the stitches, really just whip this together, okay? So it's not going to come undone anymore. And my needle is not going through to the other side. I am just threading through the yarn itself. So that way this yarn is really just kind of getting woven through each other, and it'll really stay nice and closed. I don't want that pupil to be open at all, okay? Now, those of you who follow me for making garments and other items, you know I am 100% against knots. As I mentioned, making the head, you can go ahead and knot these 2 colors ends together. We're going to knot them together because it's the inside of the stuffy. This is never going to be shown, and it's not going to be rubbing against a skin or anything. So I'm going to tie a knot there, and then I'm going to go ahead and snip those nice and close. Okay? Make sense? All right? Okay. Now, I'm going to go back to my work here, and my next round is going to be a regular round. I'm not going to do any increases, but I want to use the white. I don't want to use my green. So I'm going to join right here again. So I'm underneath my first single crochet, but instead of yarning over with my green, I grab my white, leave a tail, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull that loop through, okay? But it's at this point, we've joined our white, we chain 1, and you will do 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way around. So we are not increasing. We're just doing 1 single crochet all the way around. So you will have 20 stitches at the end of this round. When you get to the end of the round, it's going to look a little something like this. You know what? I didn't cut my green. I can go ahead and cut my other green color there so I don't have to worry about it being attached. It's at this point we are going to do a round of slip stitches to the inside of those single crochets we just did. So pay very close attention here. We're going to come over here and we're going to join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet, just like we've been doing, right? So I join with a slip stitch. Now I'm going to go underneath the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and slip stitch there. Go to the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and slip stitch there. I'm going to do this all the way around. This is what I changed up about Sarah's pattern, is I wanted to have some extra dimension. So I did this round of slip stitches right here to really kind of give some more depth to the eyes. All right, so I'm just going all the way around into each single crochet and I'm working slip stitches. Okay, working slip stitches. And it is gonna want to cup in on you. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. Okay, all the way around. When you get back to the start, like join right here where your first one was, right? Make sure it's the first one. That wasn't my first one. There's my first one. Get underneath there. We do want to go ahead and slip stitch with this white, okay? We're going to slip stitch with the white, and then we're going to fasten it off, all right? We're going to fasten this off. Give it a pull, and you can see here, everything is pulled into place. You get this really great, like, cartoon eye, right? Like this really great deep cartoon eye. And it's at this point you can take your tapestry needle, and I like to just weave in my ends as I go, so then it makes it easier for me to see my actual project. Not all the ends, because some of the ends I use for seaming, but like pulling this one through those slip stitches and then getting it back here to the back side just really helps me to be able to visualize what's going on. Okay. And then it's at this point, I can either use the tail that we started with, or I can use this tail if it's in a good position, whichever one. And I can just right here, where all those joins are, okay, I literally just pop up. I go right between like the green and the black, okay? Just pop up. We're gonna pull that white up. And then pop down a little bit. Give yourself just a little bit of that little bit there. And I like to do it twice, okay? So I go back over here, come up where I came out, and then come back over and pop it back down. Just to give me just that little bit of like that little glassy highlight right there, okay? It's at this point, if I wanted to take my two whites, I can, tie them together just like I did the others, just to kind of secure them, because I'm not going to use this again, and I'm not using this yarn to seam anything up. So if I can get it taken care of right now, that's great. So I'm just going to make a knot. It's out of the way. I can cut my yarn. Same thing with the green. Make sure it's pulled. Everything's where it needs to be, right? Everything looks good there. You can tie the green if you want, or you don't have to tie this, guys. If you want to weave these in, you can. It's up to you. But once all those are cut, you don't have to worry about them anymore because you have this cute little eye section, okay? Now, this eye is not complete because in order for it to get like this dimension around the outside of the eye here, I actually want to work another round of slip stitches on top of this white, but I want to do it in green. So if you're looking at the white and you kind of pull back that white bit, you can see that you have your slip stitches. So you'll see a V right here, the slip stitches, and then this is what was the top of the single crochets that you worked into. And so we are going to join our green yarn up here, and we're going to do a round of slip stitches up here in our frog green. So I'm going to grab the frog green here, And the reason I didn't join it down here is I found that it just looked better when I joined it back here. I didn't get a color bleed or anything. So it just worked better that way. So I'm going to go into this back loop, okay? It's this back loop. You'll be able to tell which one it is because you can see the back side of the stitch and there's like this loop right there. It looks like it's on top of that, like what looks like an upside down V. And then there's this string right there that kind of connects those two. That's what I'm going into, is that string or that area right there, okay? So I'm yarning over, pulling up a loop, and I will go ahead, go into the next one, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull through. So I don't have to join in any particular way. I'm literally just going to work around, going from one stitch to the next, working slip stitches. And I mean, honestly, guys, you don't have to be absolutely precise. What you're actually doing, so we're leaving those slip stitches recreated with the white there. And then on top of the single crochets, we are doing slip stitches into this green. So it's like we're doing a double round of slip stitches, okay? So I'm just going to go all the way around. And what will happen is we are going to work the back side of the eye. And then when we join the back side of the eye to the front of the eye, the eyeball, we will actually be joining through these green slip stitches. And it really makes that eye like just, I mean, I call it like, it looks like it's bugging out. It bulges out. It gives it that cartoon effect. So this is what we're doing. It's just this little extra slip stitch definition that we are adding in, okay? And go all the way around. And just remember that you want to make sure that the part where you did that little, you know, the sparkle, that part looks good, because that's gonna be the top of the eye, like, right? That's where it's going to show. That's because your sparkle bit goes on top. So that's where it looks the best. So you want to make sure that looks good. If I can get into that loop there, that would be very helpful. Okay, when you get to the end, you can join with a slip stitch to the first slip stitch. Let's see what that looks like. Just like so. And then cut your yarn, give it a pull, and then just like before, you want to take your ends here and we're going to weave them in. Now, you can attach this to where your eyes are kind of really like bugging out like that, right? I liked mine in a little bit, and then when everything is attached, it just kind of looks, it just looks really cool. I like it. But once this portion is done, you do want to go ahead and get these tails all taken care of, all right? Because when you go to add the back of the eyeball, you don't want these to be getting in the way for you, all right? So joining this, you want to make sure that it looks as seamless as possible. So I kind of go through the V on the other one, just makes it look a little seamless. And I'm just going to pop over here to this side. Here, and we have a nice little eyeball section all prepped and ready for the back of the eye. Now, the back of the eye, you actually make the back of the eye just like you made the front of the eye, only we're going to increase out so that we get a bigger back section here. And then we decrease back down to where we get to 20 stitches. And then those 20 stitches can be seamed to the eyeball just right there. Okay. So what I want you to do now is grab your Frogger green, right? Grab the froggy green, follow the instructions, working the center and then increasing out and then decreasing down to where we get back to 20 stitches. Join me back here and I will show you how to seam this to this so that you get this really great eyeball look. Okay. Because I know you can do this. So let's go get started. Okay, you know what? I was thinking to myself, why not just show you how to make the eye portion? And I'm gonna do that. So let's go ahead. We start off with the magic loop again. And we're gonna start off with 10 single crochets. So I chain 1 and we will do 10 single crochets. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now, the reason we start off with 10, if you remember, I wanted this eye, the back part, to be the same construction as the front part, but we're going to add an extra round of increases here. So for this, we're going to join with a slip stitch to the very first single crochet. These are joined rounds, just like the head and the body. Okay, real nice and snug. Now we will chain 1 and we will increase in every stitch all the way around for this one. So that means 2 single crochets in each one. Once you have all the stitches around, join with your slip stitch. And we have one more round of increases, okay? So for this one, we'll chain 1, do a single crochet in the first stitch, and 2 single crochets in the next stitch. 1 single crochet in the following stitch, 2 in the next stitch. And you do this all the way around. So we are increasing 10 stitches. When you get to the end of that round and you join, we are now going to work even. Just like we did on the head or the body, we need this now to turn so that way we can create that look here where it comes through this way, right? So we've created the top portion here. Now we need it to turn and we're going to work this direction, okay? So we will do the number of rounds written in the pattern, working even. And when I say working even, that means that there are no increases. We put 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way around. As you're working these even rounds, you still want to join with your slip stitch. These are still joined rounds, okay? So once you have done your even rounds, this is the back side of your eye. So we want to now bring this back down to where we have 20 stitches, so that way this will fit right in to the socket right here, okay? So we will decrease down by working the opposite of what we did to increase up. So you work 1 single crochet, and now we'll do our single crochet 2 together. Remember, I yarn over, pull up a loop, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull that second loop through the 2 on the hook. We will do that all the way around. So we'll do 1 regular, and then 1 single crochet, 2 together. Okay, 1 regular, 1 single crochet, 2 together, all the way around. And this should bring everything down to where this will be the same size as the center of the eye we created already. Oops, almost did a regular single crochet 2 together there, which you could totally do. It's not that it's impossible to do that. It's just that it just adds some extra bulk that we really don't need. When you get to the end of your decrease round, in theory, you should be able to pop the eye that you created right into that section right there. You see that? How it just popped right in. And now we are going to slip stitch around, joining this outside edge right here of this crocheted slip stitch that we did here, we're going to join it with this one with a slip stitch. But in order to make sure that our eyes are big and bulgy the way we do, we first want to stuff this with some fiberfill. But we also want to make sure that our starting point is all woven in. So once again, take the time right now to go ahead and secure your inside tail that attaches to the magic loop or the adjustable ring, whatever you want to call it. I am going to use the chenille needle again to do this one, just so I can really just make sure this is all pulled together, because I don't want the back of the eyeballs to come undone by any means. So I am just puncturing right through those fibers and making it all come together to make sure it's nice and secure. Okay, I can pull it through here with a knot to finish up, and then cut that. Okay, turn it back right side out. And you want to, again, have the eyeballs, you want it to be nice and firm. So use your fiberfill. I have a whole bag of fiberfill over here, so I have a whole bunch right here. And I'm not going to add all this in there, but just take little bits at a time. And I kind of just push it in there to fill it up. Take a little bit again. Fill it up. See how squishy it is. You know, is that what you want? It's not really enough for me, but it's enough to get started for me. So I can put that in there, take the eyeball, and for me, I started the join. So I put the little, like where the reflection part is, I kind of have that over here, and that's where I start my join to kind of gauge it. So I just kind of press this into place. Okay, press this into place. And I'm going to get started here. So I have my join. I'm going to go into my back of the eyeball first, and then just come up here to what would be the front leg, like looking at me, which is the back leg of the slip stitches. If I was looking at it this way, it's the one that's right up here on top. I just want to go into that one leg, and I'm going to do a slip stitch. So I pull through both of those layers and then pull through. Okay, so I come over to the next, go through that whole stitch, and then just the top part of the eyeball in the green, yarn over, pull up a loop through both of those, and then pull through. And as I go around, this will all just fall right into place. If I want to add more fiberfill, I can. If I want to add less, I can. It's totally up to you. Now, just a quick note, if you want your eyeball maybe to be a little bit even like longer, you could do more rounds here, right here on the eye if you wanted to. It's totally up to you, okay? So I'm just going to work around here and join. While I do that, you can do the same thing. I just take one little step at a time. I go into the back of the eye first, then go underneath that front loop on the front of the eye, yarn over, pull that yarn over up and through, okay? I do this all the way around. When you get to the very end, just secure it all the way to the end, and then I'm going to actually, nope, I'm not going to fasten it off. So what I'm going to do, so I have my loop right there, right? Cut my yarn. And this one I'm going to leave long so that way I can use it to sew it to the head. This loop, pull the yarn through that, secure it into place. You can bulge these eyes out as much as you want. You can make it really bulgy. You can pop them in a little bit if you want. It all depends on the look you're going for, but there's a lot of wiggle room here on how crazy you want these eyes to be. I kind of like that that look right there. It's just a hint of the green. If you wanted to have the eyeballs a little bit more green, you could always add more green to the inside, you know, than what I did add. Totally up to you. But right here, so this green here, I'm just going to pop it through to fasten it off. And then I'm popping it down here, and I'm going to bring it through. Let's see, if this was our starting round, this was the first increase round, that was the second increase round. So I'm bringing it right above the second increase round before we started working flat. So I just brought it through there, and now it's in a position, it's right underneath where my joins are. It's in a position that I can use that to sew it onto my head. So as I bring my head over, I can position the eye however I want. If I want the like reflection bit to be high, I can do that. If I want the reflection bit to be higher, I will want to move this a little bit lower. If I want it to be maybe down lower, look a little bit more like sad, I could do that. I mean, there are so many options here of how you can have the eyes look. I actually kind of like it with it on the side right there, both of them down there like that. Like you can just play around with it. Okay, does that make sense? Like that's super cute. That's so adorable. Okay, now you know how to make the head, you know how to make the body, you know how to make the eyes, you know how to start all of the pieces, but the legs and the arms are made in a spiral. They are not made in joined rounds. They are also made with the fiber fluff literally only in the bottom portion, like close to the ends of the fingers. Here, let me just show you. The fluff is literally only down here. Down here is completely flat, and then there's the fluff, and then this is completely flat, okay? So when you make the arms and the feet, they're done in spirals. You start off with the green in the center, and you do one round of increases with the different colored green, like I used on the eyes for the feet. And then you go to the regular green for the leg and the arms. Once those are all done, you then will seam it all together. And I filmed myself actually seaming this one together. So I will add that to this video and just kind of do some voiceover for you so you can see how it's done. But before I do that, I do want to show you how you would work in a spiral, just in case you don't know how to do that. So let's go ahead and work in a spiral and let's make a leg so that way I can show you how to do the two colors, okay? Because if you know how to make the leg, you know how to make the arms. They're literally all done the same way. This one's just done with a different color, all right? Okay, for the leg, we start with the adjustable ring, just like we did before. And we will begin here with our chain 1, and we want to put 6 single crochets into this ring. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. Pull your tail, and this is where we're automatically jumping in to our actual stitches, okay? Instead of joining right here to this very first stitch like we did before, we're actually going to start working our second round, all right? So what I want you to do right now is, before we even do anything, I want you to take a stitch marker and put it into the loop on your hook, okay? So right here, this is the loop that's on my hook, right? It's a loop that's on my hook, and I put a stitch marker in it. Go into the very first stitch of your round, right? That's the very first stitch that we have been joining to for all the other pieces. And here we're going to put 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2, okay? This marker right there, that lets you know that that is the top of the very first stitch of the round. Okay, so when we get back to that, we know we've completed 1 full round. Now we want to put 2 in the next stitch. 1, 2, 2 in the next stitch, and 2 in the next stitch, 2 in the next stitch, and 2 in the next stitch. So we have 12 stitches, okay? Once you've completed this full round, you're ready to go on to the next round. And that's where we introduce the main color of the frog. So we want to make sure that the color of our yarn on our hook is the same color as the first stitch of our next round. In order to do that, that very last stitch you did on this round, go ahead and remove it, okay? Remove it. Put that loop back on your hook. Go back into that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop so you have 2 loops on your hook. You're going to drop the color you were using and pick up the color of your frog. We're going to yarn over and pull through those 2 loops on your hook, okay? Now we're back right here where we have our marker, and we're automatically going to start into our next round. So we remove the marker, go into that stitch where the marker was, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. That stitch right there, that V behind the loop on your hook, that's the first stitch of your round. So I'm going to put the marker in it. If you wanted to put the marker into the loop on your hook before you do that single crochet, you could do that as well. But we want to keep moving up this marker every single round. And we are not increasing this round. All of the stitches are going to be just 1 stitch in 1 stitch. So you will consistently have 12 stitches from here on out. So as you're working, what I found is my middle finger, I just kind of kept it into the center of this piece here. And then as I started working around, it was like I was creating fingers on a glove, because ironically, this is exactly how you could do that. And as long as you're doing 1 stitch in each one all the way around, you will be good. All right, so I have 1 stitch here. Now I don't have to change colors, right? Because I'm using the green the whole way. This is going to start cupping on you. I like to go ahead and force it so that the right side is out. Okay, force it so the right side is out. You're going to go in where that stitch marker is, remove the stitch marker. Again, like I said, this is where you could put the stitch marker onto the loop that's on your hook, and you're automatically starting your next round. So you start off with a single crochet here. So there's 1 single crochet, and you're just working in spirals. Okay, so we're working in spirals just like this for the legs and the arms of this piece. And you can see here, I just have my middle finger just in the middle of this just to give me some stability here as I'm just rotating around this entire piece. You see? And you would just do this until you get, about 1 inch or so up. And then if you wanted to take a little bit of the fiber fill and start filling it up, you could do that. I do recommend taking a second before you get too far into the tube and weaving in your ends, just like we've been doing all along. So like right now I could pause, kind of give myself a little bit of room, pop this direction. And because these little tiny feet, they're just such a few amount of stitches, I'm just going to tie this into a knot, the green. I'm going to tie the green into a knot, the lighter green. I guess it helps if I actually cut it, huh? All right, it's a nice little knot there. And then, I can cut this off, or I could leave it and use it as stuffing itself. Whatever you guys want to do. It's totally up to you. And then you have this green one here. I'm actually not too worried about it. I'll probably just stuff it in as stuffing. So I'll just leave that. But as I continue working around and around and around, I will get this cute little foot, like it's the start of a little tiny foot. But I'm just going to keep going. All right, so let me just get a few rounds in here so you can see how it goes. And again, as you're working each round, when you get back to your stitch marker, right, you get back to your stitch marker, just move your stitch marker up. You can continually just put it on that loop on your hook before you go in, okay? Right here, there's one. And just keep working even all the way around. Like I said, as you get going and you kind of get a little bit of a section here, when that gets as big as you want it to be for your fluff, you can just, you know, take a moment and just add the fluff in now. Don't wait till the end. Just grab a little bit and just pop it in there just to give yourself a little bit of something. Okay. And then just continue going. Okay, so you're going to continue working on the leg until it measures the distance that you want for the size of your leg. And then make sure that you make the second leg the same size. Then when you go to make the arms, make both arms the same size as well. On the arms, I did not add as much stuffing at the bottom of my arms as I did on the legs, just to give you guys a heads up. But that's totally a preference thing. You can do anything you want. Now, I did film myself sewing the limbs onto my frogging friend originally, but I also want to show you how you would do the placement for the eyes and put that smile on your frog. And honestly, you could probably even just keep the frog as just like a head if you wanted to just keep a head. It's up to you. But I wanted to show you how to do this for me. So I have my head right here, right? This is the top of my head right here. And I have some T-pins here that I'm going to use for my eyes. Now on my original here, I put my little like speck things way up top. And on this one, I think I'm going to have them just a little bit lower, and I'm going to have them both face the same direction. So I think on this one, I want to have it a little bit lower. All right. So I'm just going to place it here where I think I want it to be. And I'm just going to take a T-pin and push a T-pin on either side just to hold that into place, just to see what I like there, right? So now I'm going to take the other eye, and I can have the little eye speck face out just like that one, or I could have it go the same way, okay? I kind of like the idea of having it go the same way. So as I'm looking down here, I can see 1, 2, 3 rounds, 1, 2, 3 rounds on my actual piece, and then this is joined kind of right there. So I take some pins and just pin it into place just to test it, right? Because I'm not, excuse me, I'm not committed. Now you can see there, I pinned it. This one seems a little bit lower than this one. So for me, I would move this up. So maybe it's just as simple as just kind of rotating it a little. I'm pinning it in. Looks good. Now, if I look straight down, this one's back further than this one. So I'm going to move it up a little. Yeah, that looks better. That looks like they're even right there. They look even here. I like how the eyes looks like that. To me, that looks like that's really good placement, right? So I don't want that to move as I'm stitching it. So for me, I like to just grab a couple more T-pins. This is kind of painful, right? I'm sticking it in the front of the eyes here just to pin them down into place. And more than anything, it's just so that way my stuff doesn't move. Now, I know that they make some tools like amigurumi. Essentially, they look like big knitting needles that you can use to pin things, but I don't have those. And so these work just fine. So this is what it looks like from the back. This is what it looks like from the front. Oh, that is just adorable. Even just right there, just adding the eyes to this little head looks great. I mean, and this would be an adorable keychain, right? Like you could add like a jump ring right here and have a really great keychain. Now, I left this long down here on the bottom of my head so that way I could sew this to a body if I wanted to, okay? If I wanted to keep this as a keychain or just a head, I could weave this in and be done with it, okay? Just want you to know what that is. I left long strands of yarn to each eye. And what I want to do is I want to make sure the eyes are attached, but they remain this circular motion, like size, right? So I'm not going to like stitch all the way around to attach it. I'm going to go in one side, come through the eyeball, come through the head, and kind of attach that way and grab little bits just to make sure it's nice and secure. So when I do that, whoops, I find it the easiest to use the chenille needle to do this. And like I said, the chenille needle has a very, very pointy tip, and it just gets through all of the fiberfill and all of the yarn, and it just works great. So my yarn is coming out over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of insert into the eyeball right where it's like getting connected to the head. I'm through the eyeball, I'm down into the head, and I'm going to pop up over here on this side of the eyeball. Can you see that? And I'm just going to pull this through. Okay, looks good. I don't see any string coming through. Okay, now I'm over here on this side. So over here, I've come through the head, but now I want to grab some of the eyeball. So I'm going to grab a little bit of the eyeball up here, right, as it connects to the head. I'm going to come down into the head. And then as I come over here, I want to try and have this come out as close to right underneath the eyeball as possible. Okay. And I mean, guys, this is how I sewed mine. So I just wanted to make sure I showed you how I did mine. Okay. Now I'm over here on this side. Again, I'm through the head right now, right? So I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to grab, essentially it's like the underneath part of the eyeball. I'm coming down into the head. And then I'm going to pop up over here, making sure it's as close to the eyeball as I can get. Just so I can kind of hide all of this. Pop over here, grab a little bit of the eyeball. A little bit of the eyeball come through. Oops. Here we go. There we go. Ooh, I like that. That looks good. And then pop over here. Again, I'm going to grab a little bit of the eyeball and pop it back down. Right there. Okay. I am not going to cut this yarn yet, okay, because I want to make sure that that's nice and secure and in place after I do this one. So I'm going to leave the yarn attached and just kind of let it stay out of the way. And then I'm going to come over here and do the same thing with this eyeball and get it all attached. After I do that, that's when I will remove my T-pins and see how everything looks. Okay, so I think I have this eyeball attached pretty well. Pretty sure I like it. All right, so this is like the moment of truth, really, is you take out the T-pins to see how secure everything is. And then you just secure things more if they need to be that way. But hopefully what you've done so far to secure it is pretty good, so you're not going to lose everything when you're undoing it. Like, my eyes are pretty good and attached there. I'm actually quite happy with how they both are. They look pretty good, don't they? They look pretty good right there. So what I can do here is, if I'm happy with everything, I don't need to do any extra stitching. I can pop this all the way down, pop the thread. I'm going to go down to the bottom and poke it through just to hide it. Okay. All the way through. And then we'll do the same thing with the other one. Don't forget you have two eyes, unless you wanted to make like a Mike Wazowski looking cyclops looking piece, which you could do. It's totally up to you. Or maybe you want to put 3 eyes. You could do that too. Could be really cute. But I'm going to put that one right through there. And then I'm going to pull this straight down to the bottom just like I did. Those look good. Those look good. Make sure you cut the one that has the needle on it. All right, so for me, I think I just want to keep this one as a head. So I am going to go ahead and just secure this bottom here. So I don't need this long tail. I'm just going to secure it real quick. All right, so now we have a little froggy. We have a little froggy head, which is adorable, and you could literally stop with the froggy head. But if you have a froggy head, it needs a little smile. All right, so this is really easy to do. Take your black yarn, the same yarn you use for the little pupils, and come up from the bottom. And somewhere like at the edge of this line, like of the eyeball, like somewhere around here, just come up. I'm going to come up here. And then you're going to come across to this edge. All right, come across there. And then you're going to drop down. So if I'm on this row, I'm going to drop down to like a couple rows, just about in the middle. I want to make sure I'm somewhere in the middle here, okay? This is the important part. You want to make sure you're in the middle between these two. So I think I'm just 1 stitch over too much. And the reason you want to do that is as this is coming across like this, you could leave it like that, right? Kind of have a bah humbug sort of froggy. But you could always pull this down. I'm going to come up here. Right above where that one came out. So as that pulls down, now I get like a little grin, right? And I want to have little like smile marks. So I'm just going to add a smile over here. It's a little just a smile mark on that side, and now I come over here so that I could add the same thing. And I will just finish with it. Here's my little smiley face. Finish with it down here. I can take a second and just weave it through if I want, but I really don't need to too much. I mean, if this comes out, you can always just add another one. And snip that. You can tuck that in. And now you have a little smiley face. So you have a smiley frog. So now you have a little frog head that you can leave all by itself and set it on your desk, because kind of like the F-bomb that I created. And it could be your little froggy friend. Or you can go ahead, watch the rest of this video and see how you can add limbs to a body and create the completed froggy friend. So the choice is yours. All right. Good luck, everybody. Well, hello and welcome to my very own little Frankenstein workshop. So this is the original froggy friend, and I was deciding where I wanted to put the limbs. I didn't know exactly where I wanted to put them. I just knew I wanted it to be able to sit on its bum on my desk with its legs straight out and then its arms coming out from right underneath the head, because I think that just looks really cute and stuffies. So what I'm doing right now is I'm using those T-pins that I used when I attached the eyes, and I'm kind of putting them in a place where I'm like, okay, maybe that's where the legs should go. And so you'll see I just kind of place them. I'm just eyeballing things because I know that I can move all of this. Now, I do want you to notice real quick that I have left a lot of yarn in the tails for all of these extra limbs just because I had no idea how much I was going to need or if at some point I was going to have to cut out some. I had no idea. But this is me sitting up my frog to make sure it sits right and that I like the way it looks. Is it a good placement? And, maybe I need to adjust it. Maybe I don't. It looks like I like it in this place. So literally, I'm just going to thread the tail onto a tapestry needle. You could use a chenille needle. And I'm just going to pick up some of the fabric from the body, from the bottom half of the body. And I'm going to go through the stitches on the leg and just, for all intents and purposes, like whip stitch this on there. I'm not doing any sort of special stitching or trying to hide the join because to me, that's part of the craftiness of this. I like it. So I'm just making sure it's attached really well. Now, here's the reason why I filmed all of this, and I don't know if you guys want to hear this as you're watching this or not, but as I've watched other stuffy tutorials, people always say, oh, just attach the limbs, and they don't really show how to just do it, even when it's just this easy. And I found that I needed more instruction. I needed some help. So when I decided I was going to make a stuffy, I also decided that when it came time to add the limbs to my stuffy, I was just going to film it and either put background music behind it or do a voiceover like this, just so you guys could see the process that I went through, because it's not perfect. And it's okay that it's not perfect, but it does work for me and it works for the finished sample, obviously, because if you guys didn't like the finished sample, you wouldn't be here, right? This is me just making sure that I did get, both ends of the leg completely attached on there. And then as it's all done, I go and I do the same thing to the other side. You'll notice that I did not close my legs or my arms. They are still in their tubular form. I wasn't sure if I was going to have to add more stitches or not when I was doing this. So you'll see right here, I'm actually finishing off the tube. Yours will be finished off because I tell you to finish it off. So I just finished that off by fastening it. And now I'm just stitching through. Once again, I will be going through the bottom of the body and through the leg. I tried my best to kind of do the placement like as if they were on the same rings on the bottom. It didn't matter if it was, a little bit off or not. I just tried to be, just eyeball it. Again, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. Just make sure it's secure enough that should you be giving this to a child or somebody and they were carrying it around by the leg or the arm or the eyeball, that it's not going to fall apart, right? You just want to make sure it's stitched together pretty well. Yeah, so I just continue doing that. I'm just going to kind of sit here and let you watch me go through this as I'm just trying my best to not distort anything, but at the same time get through all of the fabric. And if you notice, I keep moving the T-pin kind of out of my way, but I still use it to hold the leg in place. So that way I'm not getting too bent out of shape, because I'm notorious for seaming things in the wrong place, which is one of the reasons why I've never really designed a stuffy or amigurumi before. But man, something just, I got a bug, and I woke up and I was just like, I need to make a frog. My friend Megan Kreiner just designed a frog pattern for me as well that we will be putting out soon. And it didn't get here in time to release for Leap Day, because you guys, if you notice, this video was released on Leap Day. And so I was like, well, maybe I could just do my own. All right, see how my legs, like they're flat down towards the bottom, right? And then you have the fluff down towards the feet. Again, I did that on purpose so that way my frog will sit flat on my desk, because that's where I plan on keeping him. And if you want to fill up the legs of your froggy all the way, you absolutely could do that. I didn't do any sort of special stitches to hold the fluff down, like just down at the bottom of the leg. I don't plan on playing with my frog too much to disturb the fluff. But if that's a concern of yours, you could always kind of add some extra stitching down there to kind of hold the fluff down in place, but I wasn't too concerned about it. This is me just testing it to make sure that it is going to sit flat, and it did. So I was like, yay. All right, so I finally took out my pins and I have some legs. Yay. Just going to tuck in these tails so that they are out of the way. Don't have to do too much. I mean, they literally have been used to seam everything in place, so I don't really have to do anything. So once they're all tucked down there, I can just snip this real nice and close. And what do I do next? What do I do next? Looks like I'm going to get rid of this one as well. I will tell you that I went back after I finished this leg here, this particular one, and I noticed on the other side, so if you're not looking at the leg from the butt, but you're looking at it from the top, it didn't look like I had stitched it very well, so I went back in with some yarn and stitched it down a little bit better on the top. So just to let you know, you can go back and remedy anything if you find that something is missing, all right? Okay, so now it's time for the arms. And I was like, I don't know where to place these. I thought they looked funny if I didn't put them right up next to the neck. Like it just looked odd since they were not joined as I went along. Maybe if I had joined as I went, they wouldn't look so funny. But I noticed some other amigurumi patterns out there and other stuffy patterns out there that have arms like this that just come literally right underneath the head, right next to the body, and the arms are always, if not the same length as the body, a little bit longer. So I wanted to make sure that my arms were a little bit not a little bit, they were the same length as my body, and I wanted to make sure that they are placed right up against the neck. So I also, right here, you can see I placed it right underneath the eyeball. I tried to make sure that the arm was right underneath the eyeball, but then attached to the body itself. And I just went through where I joined the head to the body, which is very similar to how I did the eyeballs to the head. So I did the head to the body, and now I am just going through all of those stitches through the body, through the head, and just working my way through all of that to attach the arm to that entire section. I thought that really helped the stability of the head as well. And I liked how the final look came out. So here we are. You can see I have that T-pin still in place, just holding things in place for me. And I'm not doing any sort of like rhyme or reason of like a whip stitch or anything. I'm just going in where I think it needs to be secure, stabbing it with this tapestry needle, which if I had to do over, I would use a chenille needle because it would be a lot easier. But this definitely gets the job done. And we just get that little piece attached. So let's kind of see how this goes here. Pull that through. Constantly kind of checking it and making sure it doesn't look like it's lifting up. And you can't tell from this angle, but I want to always make sure, there we go. I'm making sure that it's not like distorting the head from the body, and I am going through stitches. Now, I was like, you know what? It'd be a good idea just to go directly underneath the head completely and go to the opposite side and use the yarn that I'm using right here to attach the other side too. I mean, why not? So I grab the other side, and I actually cut that tail shorter so I don't have to fuss with it. Remember, I told you I did not finish off my arms and my legs when I was making my sample because I wasn't quite sure if I was going to have to make it a little bit longer or not. But when I got everything said and done, I liked how it looked. So I kept them the length that I had made them, the length that is written in the pattern actually for you guys. All right, so I have that tucked in. Remember, I have a little bit of fluff at the bottom of these. All right, just a little bit of fluff at the bottom. I have it a tube, just like the other one. Now I'm going to place it on the other side of the head. If I'm remembering right, I also check the eye. Yep, I make sure it's right underneath the eye. Yep. And then I think I pin it in place. Look at me. And now I will take that tapish needle, and remember, that's the yarn that I was using on the other side, and I will begin to attach this one, right? So just keeping it very easy, keeping it all attached. And I figured having one piece of yarn from one side of the body, like that attached one arm, using it still on the other side just makes it that much more secure. Instead of having a bunch of little bits of yarn sewing everything together. My whole thought process behind that is, like, anytime you're seaming like a sweater or like a cowl or anything like that, you always want to do the seam or the Kitchener stitch or the graft or whatever you want to call it with one strand of yarn. You don't want to do it with multiple strands of yarn. So that is my thought process with this. As I was going along, was just like, let's just use one, go to the other side, because I left a long enough tail that I could do that. Yeah, so I'm just going to get this one completely attached to make sure it's not bunching up anything, distorting anything. I love that it feels like he's waving at me. And this is such a cool view. It's like you're watching a toy come to life. Those of you who grew up on Toy Story, maybe this is one of those things that you can kind of relate to. Like, I feel like we're watching this toy come to life. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering why I have those stitch markers in the back of the head. I had different points in the head construction where I wanted to make sure I remembered where I did the shaping and such. So I put the stitch markers there and I left them there. So that way, when I went back to count my stitches and my rows or my rounds, I knew what I did because I designed this as I went. So it was my own little way to keep track, but I could have removed them before I started doing all of this seaming, but I chose just to leave them in place. All right. I think I'm nearly done here. I'm going to pull out these pins here shortly. I do want to make sure that my ends are secured in there. Maybe I'm seeing that one of the, like the edge of the arm is not really attached. Not real sure. I play around with it. Hopefully this helps you guys and you can see what it's like for me just to seam pieces together when I'm just trying to figure it all out. Maybe it's helpful, maybe it's not. I don't know. But there you go. I was like, oh my gosh, I was giddy at this point. I'm like, look what I just made. As I said before, this is my very first stuffed animal I have ever designed myself. So as I was coming up to the end, I was like, holy moly, I did this. Now, weird, because from the back, it looks like a mouse to me, right? Doesn't look like a mouse. It looks like those could be mice ears. And then I could have some eyes on the front. So maybe I can use this same sort of construction and just make a mouse. I don't know. That would be cute too. Right, this is me just tucking in my ends, making sure everything is secure. I'm so worried about it falling apart. All right. Oh my gosh. I can remember how giddy and excited I was, even at this point, just finishing this all up. Okay, this was the tail that I started with on the second arm, remember, that we didn't end up using. So I am just securing it so that it's out of the way. I think I bring it underneath the armpit. Yeah, I was like, ooh, that's a good spot. It's nice and hidden. So I snipped that and put everything away. And look at this little beast. All right, this is where I'm like, all right, I'll take these out. I don't need these anymore. Don't need these anymore. Oh, it's just so cute. I hope you guys love your little frogging friend as much as I love my little frogging friend. I think it is absolutely adorable. It's just a lot of fun. Okay, turn it around, Marley. Turn it around. There it is. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, how cute is that? Oh my gosh. You know what else would be cute with this is if you made like a turtle shell for the back. That'd be super cute. Oh, look at those feet. It's so cute. Oh, I hope you guys love yours as much as I love mine. All right, there you go. That's how you can assemble this adorable little froggy. Can't wait to see your project, you guys. Make sure you share with me on social media. Until next time.
Show me, show me love. This is all we got. show me love.